LA riots. I guess it's high time we talk about that. So I saw that this is a big thing for reviewing the riots, talking about the riots is a big thing for some of the ortho bros on here, Russian Orthodox people. I don't use ortho bro as a pejorative. It's just they were the ones whom I heard using that before, just for the record. But from what I understand, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Some of these guys, all of them, this group, they believe that separation of church and state is no good, that they should be one and the same. You know, I'm probably not doing a great job of explaining this, but you know, the state, maybe the apparatus, the king, the czar should be guided by the moral precepts that the church lays down, or something along those lines, right? Or they're both, or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. They're one and the same, essentially, yeah? So if you're Russian Orthodox, it would follow, right? You guys could let me know if I'm wrong on this, but it would follow that if you are part of the Russian Orthodox Church, right? Well, you're not part of the American state apparatus. You're part of the Russian state apparatus, right? Wouldn't that just... That's who you are, right? You're a Russian asset, right? Am I wrong here? Or you guys let me know. Anyway, I hadn't watched any of these reviews of the LA riots because I've seen some of that stuff when it comes to BLM, and it's just surface. From what I've seen, it's just been surface level stuff, and a lot of just comedy, making fun, very divisive rhetoric, and never really getting to the bottom, the root cause of the problem, where it came from. And if there was an attempt to do that, it was always blamed on the United States, right? Russia being the enemy, mortal enemy of the United States, threatening to nuke the West, declaring in their propaganda that they're waging a war against the West, because when it comes to Russian doctrine, hybrid warfare, right? Like cutting communication cables by proxy, or putting spies in Russian embassies all over the world, or let's say weaponizing the migrant, whether it be via Belarus and into Western Europe, Central Western Europe, or the US-Mexico border, sending Russians, GRU, and or maybe as proved, right, by the US State Department, or was it immigration authorities, Wagner militants, one guy with a drone across the US border from Mexico into the US, right? All of that, and then some, you know, cyber attacks, all that type of stuff that the West considers below the threshold of war, according to Russian doctrine, it's all war. There's no hybrid warfare when it comes to what Russians believe and what they what they say amongst themselves, right? That's their doctrine. Now, when they're talking to the West, they speak in the Western language. A lot of the times they're diplomats and they use terms such as hybrid warfare. But for them, for like internal intelligence service, state consumption, the Kremlin, right, there is no such thing as hybrid war. It's just war, period. So Russia is at war with the United States according to the Russian doctrine, and you have Russian state assets. You let me know if I'm wrong in analyzing this. Within the United States, making these, they would have to be considered propaganda videos, right? Let's see if you think they'll be able to point out the root cause of the problem.
throwing bricks at the police.
Those are Nike bricks.
This is our city, and this was Mexico.
I mean, I get it that the material lends itself to making fun of these people because they're nuts. They're crazy, right?
By the way, I'm calling it now. That's the new, and we found the new.
Okay, so it's just all comedy, is it?
I almost wish they made a video game where that was the main character. Like whatever vest thing she's wearing. This is like, what's the old movie with Mel Gibson that they remade? This is like the DEI version of that.
Have been burnt. Intersections have been taken.
Did I get a pair of Bose Quiet? Yeah, Megan got these for me for my travels.
Here for my family. All sorts of stuff. Right here you have the National Guard. They've come through. You have troops, about 300 in different directions. Trump said.
Be funny if out of nowhere he reads an ad for like Zit cream. He's like, sorry guys.
So just belittling everyone, right? They're young, they're ugly, they're crazy, look at their clothes, that guy's gay, DEI. Okay.
I have to actually do this. I have to read an ad and it's just like, this is his mom. Wear your glasses. We don't.
Mom jokes?
Who else is ready to rise up this Saturday, Chase says. Yeah. $10. I didn't realize these people were so against Pride Month in California. Absolutely chaos. Yeah, that's fine.
Diffuse tear gas. If needed. Yeah. If you throw a canister in one of these, it should diffuse it enough or at least stop the chemical reaction.
What makes you want to come out here at the Honduras?
Okay, some of my own thoughts on all these immigrants, and I suppose it's been said by a lot of people, but let me echo some of that. You know, all these people in the United States waving foreign nation flags, in some cases, you know, a USSR flag, Mexican flag, which doesn't have the greatest relationship with the United States. It's not that bad, don't get me wrong, but, you know, waving all these foreign flags while destroying shit, setting things on fire, attacking cops, fighting with the cops. I mean, that just looks like war. Like, it does look like a foreign country invading the United States. I mean, most of these people are useful idiots, right? Some of them are paid to do this. But you could see how this is very useful for someone like Trump, right? Who just wants to militarize the country, maybe invade some neighbors, take over land. He wants, sounds like it anyway, he wants U.S. to become a militarized military industrial complex machine. I thought we were against that. I guess it depends who's riding on top of that tank, right? Who's giving the orders? I don't know. If it's our guy, then I guess I don't understand. I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense. That's because you got, right, one of the reasons why this is so confusing is because you got leftists everywhere who have overrun the political sphere, and some of them just pretend to be right-wing, right? But they're all leftist. That's all, right? And this kind of reminds me of Alexander Dugin's fourth political theory, where he talked about learning from fascism, communism, National Socialism, and synthesizing all of these ideologies, uniting all these groups to bring about a common goal, I guess, the new world order, right? Multipolar world order, something I thought we were against. I guess it depends on who's on top of that tank or horse or wrestling the bear, whatever gay imagery appeals to us, I guess. But yeah, it's insane. These people are idiots, obviously, right? If you don't like the United States, GTFO. If you're claiming that this is your land or some foreign country's land, I mean, them's are fighting words, right? You're playing right into the hands of a tyrant, would-be tyrant, wanna-be tyrant that you say you oppose when you're really doing his bidding. These people are idiots.
I got here.
I mean, these are my roots right here, you know?
Yeah, and you're in America.
Yeah, the guy probably doesn't even speak Spanish, you know?
This is our soil. Out of incompatible thread.
If we're pro-America, or are we, Jim Bob, then why are you a Russian state asset?
America.
The idea of America
You could call it Eastern Orthodox because, you know, it sounds innocuous, but it's Russian Orthodox.
to our people is a better future, you know? So we love America. We want to.
Trafficking ring. Kingpin. You know what's weird is that if you ask all of the legal immigrants, they would be like, yeah, these bastards, we had to go through all sorts of shit to be here. And these people don't do the proper way, and so they get, you know, they're just diluted. The irony is that the legal immigrants would be, a lot of them, oppositional to these, what at least these people are saying. Clicker, $10. Aren't we heading in a direction where it's increasingly prudent to keep some level of anonymity if you protest given grown techno-state? I guess, but I mean, by the way, send all those guys back to their shitholes. Yeah, for some people, but I mean, if you don't have a job, and you know what I mean, you're not of any influence, really, I guess it's a little bit different. But I can't wait to know. That's a weird way to pick up a chick at a riot. Weird.
So it's just gonna be a bunch of bullshit, basically. I was thinking maybe we'll get to hear something about Russian influence in the influence of GRU, for example, Russian spies, Russian intelligence services, in stoking these tensions. It's just this, Paul Joseph Watson, surface level, divisive, basic bitch type shit, right? Just divide. Let's not talk about the root causes or some of these people's. Now, obviously, it should be obvious. I don't agree with violence and wrecking shit. I'm against some of these agents provocateurs and foreign influence in these types of riots. But that being said, let's not act like some of these people don't actually have, real gripes, justifiable complaints. Some of their, like, these people, I believe, some of them, a lot of them, should be listened to and dealt with differently. Because on the one hand, you got the Biden administration, or whatever, Democrat, if you want to call it that, administration, making it easier in many instances for these people to come to the country, legalize them, right? Even though Biden was basically deporting the same amount of people that Trump was, this is the propaganda now, right? And the methods that are used are very incendiary, right? I mean, it's as if they wanted these riots. I think they do. Again, in order to militarize the police, take away your rights, this sort of stuff. The type of stuff that right-wing people should be talking about. But they're not, because they're lefties. It's insane how you create pathways for a lot of these people to stay in, however they got here, right? But once they're here, you create ways for them to become legal, be able to stay here, and they're, contributing members of society. They're not criminals. They're just good, hardworking people, and they very much so boost the U.S. economy, no doubt about it. it's crazy how you allow these people to come here and you create pathways for them to become citizens, and however long the process may take, and then you bring in this guy Trump, who's just a fucking senile puppet. Jesus fuck. Go listen to any of his fucking speeches with a critical ear. The guy has like no clue about history. He doesn't even seem to realize that history exists. When he talks about, World War II, he's talking about Putin losing people, and then what? The guy's he's a senile Zionist puppet. Just call him what he is. If you're against bagel people, you're against Trump. Duh. If you're against these riots, you're against Russia. Duh. Anyway, moving right along. Yeah, then you bring in Trump and all these policies that just all of a sudden agitate, uproot, attack these people that you're in the process of assimilating a lot of these people, and for good reasons, right? Because Americans aren't having enough babies and you need a workforce, and these people are fulfilling that, helping to prop up U.S. economy, doing, in many instances, doing the jobs that Americans won't do or can't fill because there isn't enough of them. And now you're just going to start kicking them out after you promised them something. It's what do you think is going to happen, right? Of course they're going to be upset. And then you add in foreign influence elements, right? And for those of you who don't know, and you can look all of this up, it's all out there. Russian state propaganda has been talking about inciting U.S.-Mexico tensions, using supporting Mexico in invading the United States. And again, to them, there's no such thing as hybrid warfare. There's just warfare. So this could be it. And Trump could very well be right. I think he is talking about a foreign country invading the United States. But it's not Mexico. It's Russia using Mexico as a proxy. And it's not even that because, well, it's a lot more complicated than that. But you get the gist of it, right? Russia has, since they invaded, full-scale invasion into Ukraine, has increased their Mexican embassy personnel. And anyone who knows anything about Russia knows that these aren't diplomats in many instances. They're spies. They've talked about Alexander Dugin, someone that has been featured on some of these Ortho Bro channels, right? The Satanist Dugin. These people, bro. Fucking hell. That the majority of people can't see through what's going on here. Even if some of these dudes might be good-meaning individuals, right? And I question that because they don't sound like good people. You guys don't sound like good people. The way you talk to your interlocutors, how dismissive you are of people, how you insult people all the damn time, how just combative and aggro you are. I mean, strange brand of Christianity there. I'm just saying, right? It's crazy to me how the average person that claims to understand what's going on, right? Can't see through what's going on here and how fucking blatantly obvious this shit is, right? That's the wokeism. This is the so-called right-wing wokes. They think, I need to make a video about wokeism because nobody seems to know like what it is, where it comes from, and it's just become this. It's been subverted. It's been subverted to divide and conquer and to make it into a joke when maybe initially it came from a good place, and it it made sense initially. Now it's just this. It's a perversion. It's been subverted and perverted, and it's given ammo to these other wokes to point a finger at their fellow wokes and laugh at each other, talking about how dumbed down they both are, and that's actually something that they're right about. Anyway, Russian propagandists have been talking about using Mexico to attack the United States. Paul, combat army veteran, I forget the name of his channel, Combat Veteran Reacts or something like that. He's shown you evidence that some of the forces, some of the push behind these LA riots is like straight up Russia, connected to Russia. It's been part of Russian doctrine, overt or covert, Dugin's ideology, to weaponize the immigrant. I mean, this is what the Soviet Union did. Like this, we've known this forever. This is what the commies have always looked to do, because they're not strong enough militarily to attack the United States. They're going to use covert means to be able to do that. And there's proof out there that that's what's happening, right? Which isn't to say that, because I already did, a lot of these people have their hearts are in the right mind. They're not violent protesters, and they have a legitimate gripe. Okay, but then you introduce this militant element and these provocateurs that will break into stores, steal, just use violence to delegitimize the people who are there for good reasons and maybe should be listened to, right? And that's what these guys, when they review these protests, right, they lump everybody together, right? I mean, are they advocating, if they're advocating for or supporting Trump using National Guard or whatever, are they, distinguishing between the violent element and peaceful protesters, or are they lumping them all together? Anyway, yeah, it's been, whether it be the Soviet Union 1.0 or Soviet Union 2.0, what's going on right now, it's been the policy of the Soviet Union to stoke up tensions, whether it was the civil rights movement, BLM, and now they're using the immigrant, whether it be in Europe or in the United States, to stoke up tension and weaken their mortal enemy, right? The West, the United States, the degenerate, evil West that's been at war with the Soviet Union for decades now. This is what they believe. It's always been war. We like to use these various euphemisms and polish a fucking turd and kind of sweep it under the rug and, call it Cold War or whatever. So it just makes me wonder why U.S. media, for the most part, just like these guys, right? They don't go to the root of the problem. They don't. Well, probably because what I'm talking about is them not blaming Russia, at least not showing you the links that their intelligence definitely has to how Russia has contributed to this, right? I mean, you had fucking Russian military parading in the Mexican Independence Day, I think it was, parade, not that long ago, year and a half ago or something like that, 2 years ago. You have Russian officials talking about, propagandists talking about attacking using Mexico to attack the United States, right? You have Russian immigrants coming through into the United States through the Mexican border, right? At least one of them that they told us about, right, was a Wagner militant with a drone in his backpack. Okay? You have all these strange things happening in the United States, like some Russian electrician that are clearly, obviously, right, spying on a U.S. intelligence officer and getting gunned down. One of them, anyway. All these weird planes falling out of the fucking sky. You know, Chinese spy balloons. Like, clearly, U.S. is being attacked by what we would call hybrid warfare, right? And Russia has definitely a part in it. So Trump sending military to the border, you know, that's probably why. Talking about invading Mexico, that's probably why. It's kind of like the Cuban Missile Crisis, and didn't they just have a Russian submarine in Cuba recently? So this is, you know, they'll talk about fentanyl and all this other stuff, and that's all fine and good, and that's true. But I wonder how much of the U.S. military buildup on the border has to do with Russia waging hybrid warfare against the United States by proxy, right? That has to be part of it. And why they're keeping it from the people, you tell me. Why they're keeping mum about this and just keeping all this shit surface level. I guess part of it is just to keep people dumbed down and fighting against one another over this like stupid woke shit when they're all fucking woke. You know, so this is, in a sense, according to Russian doctrine, right? This is the invasion of the United States. And Trump is pushing the type of rhetoric right now that's more in line with internal Russian national state doctrine, right? And it's not because Trump understands what's going on. No, that guy's fucking senile pervert. That's just a puppet who's, you know, put there. This whole like Russian asset talk, it almost seems like to cover up the fact that he's an Israeli asset. He clearly is. Right? I mean, didn't he come out of Hollywood? Like, all of that gets forgotten, right? A fucking Democrat who was propped up, created by Hollywood, has the people behind them are almost exclusively Israeli, the ones that matter, right? Is pulling military resources out of Ukraine and Europe and pouring them into Israel to wage that war, to set that whole region on fire. You know, he's a Russian asset. Are you sure about that? I don't think it's technically Russian or Israeli. It's fucking New World Order. That's what it is. And anyway, I don't fucking know what's going on. It's all guesses. It's all guesses. But at the very least, some of this shit is obvious, right? But these guys just refuse, don't want to, it doesn't sell, or for whatever reason, they just keep it surface level and they keep it, you know, it's all fun and games to them, it would seem, right? Whatever their reasons for that are, I mean, you figure it out, but they're not awake, man, they're woke.